Hello, all you subjects of the internet out there. It is I, the Aromantic Shipper, back again with yet another video. This time coming at you today in person. That's right, making my first live-action appearance for the first time in a long time, in forever, on a swivel chair. Hooray! 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 Anyway, so yeah, this is going to be my first live-action in-person video, talking about the subject we have come here today to talk about. I wasn't going to make this a video, like taking a video of myself, but I thought I would kind of need to because of the fact that, you know, like, I kind of have to use visuals to talk about what I'm going to be talking about, which is, and by the way, like, I'm going to ramble a lot in this video, and I'm also going to be looking off to this side, to my left side, because I have my computer right there, and I'm going to be looking at it for notes, because, you know, like, I'm just going to try to get through this, but I might be a little awkward, and I'm going to try not to ramble on too long, mostly because, you know, I don't want to keep you guys here watching a video that you would find boring, but also because I am recording this on my phone, which has limited storage, and I don't want to go through the trouble of recording an entire video and then not be able to upload it because I don't have enough storage. But anyway, that's enough stalling. So, let's get to what I'm going to be talking about. This time, I'm going to be doing something a little different than usual, of course. You know, part of the face cam. You know, I know you don't want to see my ugly mug. But this video, like I said, is going to need some visuals. But anyway, so what can you do? So for those of you new to this channel, I'm fond of making videos where I basically rewrite certain pieces of media, like whether it be movies, TV shows, animation, to fix problems in them, to improve the story. Like I've done it for, you know, The Walking Dead, the Avatar series. I'm planning on doing it, and actually in the process of writing rewrites of quite a few more things. But so although I don't consider myself to be amazing in writing or anything, I've always had a passion for writing, when dealing with fiction anyway. Before I really got into rewrites, I would think of or jot down reviews of things that I'd watched. However, nowadays I've become very comfortable in the role of, like, you know, I've become comfortable in the role of a commentator on pre-existing media. But there was a time when I was younger, when my imagination would just go wild. Like, I would create my own little stories and worlds for me to enjoy inside my head. And I was a pretty creative kid when it came to that. Like, I thought up a bunch of science fiction shit and drew up sketch designs of the creatures and spaceships and drew maps of all the planets I came up with. Fortunately, I don't have them with me now, but, you know, what can you do? Of course, I did eventually grow out of this when I got older, you know, as I consumed more media and ultimately became more interested with experimenting with those fictional worlds rather than my own original ones. You know, I would, like, think of my head, like, Star Wars fan fictions and stuff like that. Also, as I got older, I kind of realized that a lot of my ideas for the made-up shows and stories I had were basically just wish fulfillment. Like, you know, the earliest idea I can remember for me having a consistent story that I came up with was an alternate reality where I got abducted by aliens and became super smart and gained telepathic powers and telekinetic and saved the world and defeated an evil alien galactic empire, and I met God and he gave me my very own universe to rule over. Yeah, it was... it was, gosh. Still, although many of my ideas were very goofy and egotistical, incredibly egotistical, I still do have a soft spot for these early days where, you know, I would constantly think of ideas for shows and movies and stories in my head. It wasn't all just wish fulfillment fantasy. I actually came up with some pretty cool space adventures and scenarios about how, like, the Earth could be conquered by extraterrestrials. I was just very into space around this time in my life. You know, I thought it would be so cool to explore the possibilities of the universe. However, later on in my life, I did move out of that phase as I did start to imagine different stories. Like, for example, I came up with this narrative about this guy trying to survive on his own in this strange post-apocalyptic world where dangerous magical creatures were everywhere, and he protected himself using his smarts and using the remnants of scattered technology that could be found everywhere. I also imagined how like a zombie apocalypse story would play out in the city of New York, with the main character being a construction worker trying to rescue his wife from a hospital being overrun by the dead. I never did quite shake that obsession with space, however, as I also thought up a space adventure story about this human space pirate with a robotic arm who rescues 2 other human boys from slavery as they travel around the galaxy together trying to collect pieces of a magical MacGuffin so that Gay Bowser doesn't get his hands on it. It wasn't actually Gay Bowser, but I must keep the meme alive since Nintendo tried to remove it and replaced it with Bye Bye Bowser, but the joke's on them because it's still kind of gay because it's, you know, bye. Anyway, tangent, out of that tangent, but you know, now I definitely wasn't the most original in these creations of mine. Like the post-apocalypse scenario was clearly inspired by Adventure Time. The zombie story was obviously thought up after I, you know, started watching The Walking Dead. And the space adventure story was heavily inspired by one of my favorite video games ever, Super Mario Galaxy, with aspects pulled from a bunch of other stuff too. Like I was pulling from elements of Star Wars, obviously, you know, rescuing 2 kids from slavery, you know, kind of similar to The Phantom Menace, with, you know, I was going to introduce elemental powers later down the line, which was clearly based off of Avatar, and I was going to reveal that the final piece of that MacGuffin that was connected to what was basically just Fat Boo from Dragon Ball, only skinny. Like, pretty much the exact same character archetype. And, you know, by the way, like, I said that the main villain was, like, Gay Bowser. It's just because, like, it was a Bowser knockoff. That was just the villain of it. You know, sort of like this giant monster turtle. I don't know. But basically, however, while I did spend a lot of time in Imagination Land for many of these fictional stories, I never quite developed too much focus on one or the other. Like, I would always be, you know, going from place to place, story to story, you know, never quite narrowing in on one, saying, okay, this is what I really want to focus on. It's just a lot of stuff swirling around in my head at all times. Just like I have a lot of stuff swirling around in my head at all times in the nowadays, only different stuff. But you know, only a few times did I ever actually get serious about writing any of these ideas down. Like, for example, my zombie show that I came up with in my head, I wrote down a plot synopsis for what happened in the first 22 episodes of the show a while ago, but after that, like, I just sort of fell off that idea when I couldn't think of anywhere original to take the series next. You know, I did spend a lot of time thinking about my space adventure idea, plotting out the lore in my head, keeping... writing out the plot synopsis for the first 1.5 seasons, actually, but I eventually fell off this idea too, as I kind of got bogged down in the little details, like the mechanics of how space travel in the universe worked, which just made my head spin. Like, I honestly think, you know what's weird? I honestly think, like, I made a more consistent lore in my made-up series than actual Star Wars did, like, with some of the nonsense they pulled in the sequel movies, but, like, the problem is, like, I wasn't really able to focus on, like, characters that much, and was just, like, so obsessed over the freaking little details and how I had to make everything fit into place and there could be no plot holes whatsoever. And, like, I spent so much time thinking about that stuff. However, there was one fictional story that, you know, I devoted the utmost care to throughout my upbringing. A story that emerged from nearly complete imagination that wasn't based off of any pre-existing property. My magnum opus that I spent entire summers thinking about and jotting down notes on, and of which the title of this video refers to. And what was this series? This series was based off of Crazy Bones. Crazy Bones, man. You remember Crazy Bones? You guys remember Crazy Bones? Like, you know, they were these, you know, like, here, I'll show you. So, pardon me, I know you can't see my beautiful, ugly face, but, you gotta focus on the bones, because I'm gonna explain what they are and how they tie into my made-up anime that I made in my head. So basically, Crazy Bones, you know, they were this, popular niche toy line that, like, came out, I think, in the 90s, and then, you know, it sort of hit its stride during, like, the 2000s era, and, like, they were this really popular thing where you could play games with them, like, what, shoot, I dropped it. Toys. Like, I would, one of the things I would do with my friends a lot is I would basically, like, flick them at each other. Like, we would set them up in, certain, figurations, then we would, like, pick out the best ones, and we would flick them at each other, and do that kind of thing. But, like, these were just so fun for me, like, growing up, doing these, Crazy Bones and playing with them. Like, they're just really cool toys, and I know, like, a lot of people don't remember them. Like, there's this thing... There's this thing from, like, the early 2000s, like, it's this irrelevant thing, but no, I like Crazy Bones, they're very nostalgic for me, and I played with them a lot, and, in fact, I like them so much that I created basically an entire fictional world around Crazy Bones in my head that I spent, like, a decade planning out, and trying to figure out what the lore of the series and the story was, and it was, oh, it's so ridiculous, but, like, it was so... impressive, honestly, that I spent so much time thinking about these Crazy Bones, because, you know, like, these don't have an actual story, these Crazy Bones. Like, I think there was a planned TV show, cartoon, about, like, you know, fighting Crazy Bones, but it was never, like, brought to the light of day. But, like, these don't really have an actual lore. Like, there's names for each of these figurines, but I wouldn't know what they are. I just came up with my own names. Like, this guy is, this guy was, like, Big Cat. This guy was, like, a shark guy. This guy was a frog guy. This guy was a big belly guy. I don't know. This one guy was a drummer, obviously. You know, I don't know if it's obvious because it's kind of clear. You can't see it very well in the camera. But, yeah, you know, like, I would come up with my own names for all these characters and, like, what their characters were, or if they were good guys or bad guys. And, like, I came up with a whole actual entire story, story based on these things, and it was pretty, it was pretty fun, you know. I have very fond memories of doing that. And what's interesting about, like, the made-up story that I made for these is how, like, it sort of evolved a lot over time. Like, you know, I remember originally, basically, my original idea for this show, was not even really a show or an anime, because, like, by the time, I started playing with these, I didn't even really know about anime. But basically, my original idea was that it was just going to be, like, 7 animated movies, in my head that I made up for these. And, it was going to be, all the characters would look exactly, like they do in, you know, the toys. Like, they would basically just, the characters in animation would just look exactly like the toys do. Unlike later, where, you know, I would actually sort of start to take my story a little more seriously. I would make, I would sort of base the designs, the loose designs of the characters in my head anyway, because I didn't really draw them that much, loosely off of the, base the designs of the characters loosely off of how they looked in their toy forms, but, you know, still give them more human-esque and realistic-looking features. And that was fun. Like, for example, trying to pick out characters that I could give an example of, because I did a drawing that I wanted to show y'all. Basically, I'm just going to be, so, click off now if you want to, because I'm basically just going to spend, like, a bunch of time just gushing over these, made-up characters, and, like, trying to pick through a bunch of them, and show them to you, and, like, tell them what they would be, tell you what they would be, and that kind of thing. So, just trying to find the last one. Okay, so, let's say, for example, you got this character, this character, this character, and this character. So, yeah, these are some of the more important characters in my made-up world that I created out of the Crazy Bones. Like, this character was like, you know, it's just a bird character. I categorized it as female because it kind of looks feminine. This one's like a boxer, this one's like a trophy, this one's a robot, and you can see I actually did some art. Like, I don't consider myself an artist, but I do draw occasionally of what these characters would look like if they were to be in my show. And, like, you can see here, this is basically, the robot, of course, right here. You know, it's an actual robot in my made-up anime series, in how I imagine it. And, of course, this guy, I don't know if you can see him very well, but, you know, basically, it's just, trying to do this without, yeah, see, this guy is basically, this guy, down here. Then, of course, you you can see they look relatively similar to how they are in actual Crazy Bone form. But then, of course, you have this guy, the trophy guy, and the bird. And in my drawing, I sort of represented them with, I have no idea why, but like this, he's the main character. Actually, his name is Kabuto, not Kabuto, like that prick from Naruto, but Kabuto. And he's supposed to be the main character. He starts out like a kid at the beginning of this series, which is why he kind of looks like a kid. But I have no idea why I drew him like Loki. I have no idea why he looks like Loki. I did not intend that. But somehow he just, like, ended up that way with, like, that the headwear was supposed to look different. But then, of course, you got, like, the bird in the toy form. It's actually just, it's actually just a person with, like, sort of crazy hair and wings behind her, which, there's a whole story behind that I can get into. But basically, yeah, so basically what I did was, originally my idea for these was I just had a certain set of Crazy Bones, and I made up character ideas for all of them, and they were going to be in a course of, like, 7 movies, like, the Harry Potter movies, and there was going to be a story for each of the movies and what happened. But then, over the course of time, it sort of evolved into more of a show-based thing, and then I sort of thought up, as I got more Crazy Bones, I thought up more ideas for new characters that I could put in, like, future movies/seasons, and over time it just snowballed. Like, I kept thinking about this kind of thing more and more, like, thinking about these characters, like, so much, to the point where I just, like, made this entire lore around this whole series, and created this entire fictional world in my head based off of these toys, which was pretty insane, like, and, I definitely got to writing a lot of my ideas down. Like, I would write a lot of the names, a lot of the power levels of the characters, and, like, I would actually write some pretty detailed plot synopsis of certain episodes. Like, for example, I basically thought of and wrote down the entire first 5 seasons of my show. I don't have them anymore, but that would be an interesting thing to read. I'm pretty sure I threw them out because I just got sort of tired of this fantasy world and didn't really know exactly what I was really planning on doing with it for the future. But I'm just making a video talking about it now. So yeah, I guess doing this because I find it interesting that I made this entire big fictional fantasy world about these toys that I really liked, and, I think it's kind of impressive. I mean, you might not find it interesting, but it's my video, so, and, like, I even made an entire, map of the fictional world that I decided on. Here, I'll just, see if we can get a better view of this. And really, this is my water bottle, excuse me. So yeah, you can see, I was pretty detailed on it, like, obviously it shows the entire map of the world, like, it's mostly split up into the northern hemisphere where there's a continent there, and then the southern hemisphere where there's a continent there. And basically what the, try to see if you can still see this. Basically, what the plot of the overall plot of the series was, at least in the beginning, was it was basically this war story kind of, where it was a fight between what I called the Dokkan Republic that had a lot of territory, mostly in the lower continent, and the Adler Falcon, which was basically a military regime led by, the main villain of the series, Alkali. You saw him before. It's this guy, main villain, and main hero, Kabuto. Keep almost saying Kabuto. I will not be talking about that prick from Naruto. But, yeah, basically that was the major plot of the series. It was just a war series. And it was set with mostly modern technology with some futuristic stuff as well, but there was also, like, magic in it. And, like, there's also neutral territory, of course, and I plotted out, like, all of the, each of the dots represent, it's too small for you to see them probably, but each of the dots on it represent 1 million people. So basically, I went pretty detailed on this. Like I said, like, I created an entire map of this world trying to show where everything was. Like, there's Nami City, which is here. It's the capital city of, the Dokkan Republic. Like, Alkali's city / factory. Atikagaro's Secret Lair. I have no idea what Atikagaro is. I forget. Like, I just made up a bunch of random Japanese-sounding names when I was, like, thinking this up. Because, you know, obviously, as I'll get to, I was quite inspired by anime when thinking this whole thing up. Patuno's Village. I think Patuno was that guy who I'll get to later, who's pretty important. He was, like, the, you know, that wise cat sage. And the House of the Leopards. I don't remember what that was. House of the Leopards. Oh yeah, Leopards. Those were those shark men. Because, the Honogam clan village. I don't remember who the Honogam were, but, yeah, what I also forgot to mention about this was that, like, there was also the aspect of this series, like, in addition to being about war and stuff, like, you know, the conflict of war, there was also, like, stuff having to do with, like, racism and prejudice and stuff like that, with there being a lot of, you know, minority races in this show. Like, for example, there were, in addition to humans, there were, like, cat people who were called night crawlers. There were, like, like, these frog people called, Poigin, and there were these, like, Jacko-men who were these, like, magical guardians. There were, like, different races of people, and, like, shark men, as I, already alluded to it before, and, like, I was sort of going to try to explore, like, the prejudices in this world and how that might have affected the war at large and the history of everything. So I was trying to get into some deeper themes, but ultimately it just got a little bogged down in what I was trying to do. You know, there was the Myxomites Secret Fortress. I don't even remember what that was. The Jacko-man's caves. You know, the Jacko-men. As I mentioned before, the top most plentiful mines. Like, I was even detailed about this, like, to write down the top most plentiful mines in the world. Pretty crazy. And 9 out of 10 of them, if you couldn't notice, were in the Adler-Falcon territory, which, you know, one of the reasons is because the Adler-Falcon territory was basically very focused on technological pursuits, and a lot of its army was made up of, like, droids and, you know, mechanical machines that attacked, in addition to, you know, people as well. So there was also that aspect of it. Yeah, so basically this is the map that I created of my world. It's pretty cool, if I do say so myself. I try to be pretty detailed with it, but yeah, anyway, there's that. So, gotta get my water, which I have here, in case I dehydrate myself talking so much. But yeah, my basic premise for the show, at least, is that you know, originally, of course, when I was, like, you know, because I started, like I said, I was mulling this idea over in my head for, like, a decade or so, and when I first started thinking about it, it was just, like, it wasn't this complex thing. It was just, like, oh, there were these cool-looking good guys who were, like, fighting these cool-looking bad guys, and it was just, like, a cool fighting show. But over the course of my head, as I matured in my brain and in storytelling, I sort of added these more complex elements into it to try to make it a more mature kind of story, you know, that kind of thing. And so basically, as I said before, you know, as it sort of evolved, the main premise I had was, you know, there was basically there was the main character, Kabato, and he was the son of this, like, great warrior who died in battle against the Adler-Falcon regime, who's basically this, you know, kind of communist dictatorship, almost, regime who's trying to, you know, take over the world and unite all the races and peoples under, like, one banner of authoritarian rule. And, you know, there was sort of this moral ambiguity that I was trying to introduce into the story. Because, you know, you always love moral ambiguity, where, like, I was trying to show how originally the characters, like this guy, the main character, who had been brought up in this, like, war-torn world, who's the son of this great warrior, who he was, like, had this idea of, and the other characters as well, like, this guy was a main character, fighter amongst the protagonists, this guy too, like, these characters who, you know, they were very gifted in their abilities in fighters. You know, they had this idea of, okay, we're gonna, like, go and kill the bad guys because, you know, they're the bad guys and we need to stop them. But I was trying to sort of introduce throughout the series, like, this theme of moral ambiguity and how, you know, the bad guys aren't necessarily the bad guys, and they have their motivations of their own, and, like, there are many civilians on the other side of things, too, which I was going to introduce in Season 2, where the the main characters, which started out as kids in the beginning, like this guy, he starts out as 10 years old in the beginning, and by the time the war is ended, he is 18, so they age over time. And basically in Season 2, they would come to realize that, like, basically they get stranded in enemy territory and have to survive there, and they meet a bunch of civilians there and realize that things aren't as simple as they might seem. So that was basically the story of the show, just these fighter characters who, you know, are really strong and gifted, almost basically superhumans who get stronger over time. It was basically a shonen anime. Basically, it was just a shonen anime of, like, very similar to, like, Naruto and Dragon Ball Z, which were both the first anime I ever watched, so obviously I had a lot of inspiration from them. And, like, I could go through some characters, I guess, before I'll get into the seasons of the show and how the story, I think, in my head would play out, but I'll get into some characters first and sorting them. So there was, of course, this guy. He's one of the main characters, at least he gets introduced as a main character later on. He's like this, sort of, he's a human, but he's also, like, bonded with plant life to gain, like, plant-like superpowers and stuff, and ultimate super plant, solar-powered laser beams. This guy, he's just, like, a really good fighter, sort of goofy, a bit of the comic relief character, I guess, but, like, still a good fighter in his own right. This guy, of course, the main character, Kabuto, starts out at 10 at the beginning of the show. By the time the war's over, he is 18. This guy, I don't know, like, minor character for sure. Like, there's the other thing is the other thing about this is, like, in regards to these toys, it depended what type of character I would ultimately get for these, because of you know, like, there are some where I'd get multiple versions of the same design, basically, and if that happened, then basically those designs wouldn't be a singular character, they would just be, like, a type of character. And I think I remember this guy being, you know, a sort of, like, stock character where there were multiple ones of him. Like, this too, like, this was basically the caricature of just a scared villager, I guess, that we would come across, like, along with multiple others. This guy was the dog. He was the dog of one of the characters, and he's really cute and cuddly. I know he doesn't look like it, but, you know, he's a very cute character. He was supposed to be the dog, the pet of the show. This is one of the robotic minions. As you can see, I'll just sort him with the others. This guy was, I don't remember, like, I guess he was someone who, you know, they have a sort of similar design to this guy, the main character, so it would be someone connected to him. I don't really remember. This guy would be like, this is the drummer guy. He would be like a royal guard of the president of the world or whatever, or the Dokkan Republic. This guy would be the this guy would be the brother of, you know, they both sort of look like trophies. This guy was supposed to be the brother of this guy, the older brother, and the more talented brother, and he would, like, you know, it was going to be a twist, because later on in the series, you know, he would start out as a good guy, but then he would turn evil and fight on the side of the Adler Falcon dictatorship, and quite honestly, I don't even remember why. Like, I just had it in my head that, okay, this guy was going to start out good, but then turn evil, and it was going to be a fight brother against brother, but, like, you know, it wasn't like a Sasuke, Uchiha, Vegeta kind of thing. Like, there was kind of no, I honestly gave him no reason why he would turn evil, except that he was a jerk. Like, he was not a very complex character in my mind. There was this guy, I don't know, he was just like, I don't know, but there was this guy, of course, Shark Guy, you know, the guys I was talking about before, a different race of the world. This guy, you know, sort of a camouflage guy, different species of the world. This guy, Baker, just like a baker that would sometimes bake things for the main characters, I don't know. They would go to a bakery, that's all I have to say. This guy, just another extra. This guy, a giant dog thing. This was going to be like a super terrifying big villain, but more like a beast, honestly, that they would have to fight. There was this guy. He was like an Eskimo, a great warrior from the north. So just sorry about the shaking. This guy, you know, it's obviously supposed to be a rocket, if you can see it, but, like, I always saw it as, like, a bullet. I don't know why. I called him a member of, like, the Bullet Gang, and, you know, they were shaped like bullets, and they shot bullets with their guns, and, like, they were, you know, they're robotic bad guys who were working for the Adler Falcon regime. There's, of course, this guy, another robot, Alkali's robot general, obviously, so a pretty big villain, as I'll get to later. And this guy, just another Royal Guard, I guess. I don't know why I'm saying Royal Guard, like, it's a democracy, so whatever. There's, of course, this guy, the Jacko Man, like I was saying before, one of the different races of the world. This guy, I don't know, he's a monster or something, whatever. Not gonna get too into him. This, a Frankenman, like, obviously looks like Frankenstein, just, another monster of this world. Like, there's a lot of monsters and spookums in this world that I came up with. This one, this was supposed to be a character, but, like, yeah, I can remember, this was, like, its own character, not just, you know, not just, race of, or species of, people, but, you know, then, of course, as I went on, I got new Crazy Bones and accidentally got this, so I have two of them now, even though it's just supposed to be one singular character originally. It was just a Nightcrawler, you know, that species of cats, and this was a certain character that belonged to that species. Yeah, another Baker. I don't know, this guy was, I guess, like a foot soldier, for lack of a better term, who kicked things. This character would actually go on to be one of the main characters. You know, another Nightcrawler, you know, basically grew up without a home and stuff, like, got into the main cast for a variety of reasons. This guy, just another monster, a slime monster, yet another, species of things that, you know, there was, this guy, just, I don't know, you can't see it because of the light, but, you know, it's just a, like, a grandpa character. I had a plan for those characters, or that species, I guess, but I don't even remember. There was a Mad Hatter figure. This was, like, the boss of these foot soldiers, including one particular character that I'll get to later. Yeah, this guy, this soccer player, I don't know if you can see, kicking balls. Like, this character I actually had a great affinity for, because he was just, like, in my mind, he was just, like, this crazy sadist who, like, took joy in, like, killing people and doing all this crazy shit, and, like, just really loved fighting and being crazy. And I definitely grew a liking to that character as a villain, antagonist, and, you know, I actually sort of made him more complex as things went on, because I liked him so much. Then there was, just another Royal Guard. I'm gonna go through these for a long time, so just strap yourself in. There's this character who's actually very important. He is the grandpa of both these two characters. I said before, like, how I gave these two, like, they're the sons of this, like, great warrior, they're the sons of this great warrior who, you know, was an epic war hero who died in battle, but, like, I honestly kind of forgot, because, like, I honestly forgot originally to give them an actual mother, and so, like, I don't have a Crazy Bone equivalent of the mother character, so I basically had to make her up from scratch, so, because, you know, I didn't have a character for her, because, I don't know, I was kind of sexist, but whatever. There's a Frankenman, yet again. Just gonna be going through these. Mummy Man, just another creature belonging to this world, very spooky creature. By the way, all these spooky creatures, they're very connected to these Jacko Men, like these magic guys that I was talking about before. Foot Soldier, Kissy Ant. There was a character, an ant of one of the characters who was, like, who I thought up of as, you know, just gave her kisses a lot. You know, I know, so compelling character writing. This guy, I don't even remember. This guy, I also don't even remember. There was this guy who was a resident of the South Pole, so he would go along with this Eskimo guy. This guy who was, like, another... He's actually one of the key makers, who are basically this people who are basically masters at wielding ki, you know, energy. I know, I took a lot from Dragon Ball, as I said before, so there were basically these ki masters who held the secrets of, like, how to use ki and stuff like that. So he would be one of them. don't remember where he was. There's this guy who was originally supposed to be a character, but I got another one of him, so, you know, he's just this basically, like, tortured, angry all the time, you know, Nightcrawler who had serious emotional issues and stuff like that. Another Eskimo guy, another slime. Just trying to find a way to put it. I'm getting all mixed up. This guy is basically an assassin, a toxic waste assassin, like some kind of mutant who could, like, fit through tiny spaces and dissolve people, like, with acid and stuff. Just a cool villain, I guess. He could also go into people's minds or something. I don't know. Another copy of this character, who was originally just supposed to be one character. Grandpa guy. I don't know. He's just, Mummy. Where is that? Okay. This, I think I called them Poygins, before, these, frog guys, basically. Then there were, you know, this cat character, another Nightcrawler, this, Mad Hatter character, who was originally just supposed to be a character, but, you know, got another one. Shouldn't have got so many of these. Yeah, this is the original copy of that. A different design, actually, of the Poygin. There's two different designs, if you can see them close back together. There's, you know, sort of a taller one and a shorter one. They both sort of look like frogs, though, so that's what I made them as. I decide your fates! You think you do? No, I am the Toy Master. I am the Crazy Bones Master. Another Bullet Gang member. Where'd I put these things? Frankenman. Big Cat. Just a big cat that's pretty crazy, and, like, he actually went along with the big dog. Like, those were the two, like, basically both beasts, really just incredibly terrifying, incredibly crazy, that showed up in Season 3 and really wrecked shit up. This character, just a plant monster, basically the main antagonist of Season 1, you know, attacked the main protagonist. This one is a main character, actually, or at least gets to be after he is introduced with, these two are brothers, and this is basically the Speedster Lightning, one of them, whereas this guy's more focused on power. Flower power, I don't know. Shoot. I have been dealing with the worst rash. It's so ishy. I know you didn't need to know that, but whatever. Of course, another machine. Machine's over here. Yeah, and this is a main character, the bird, who's not really a bird. Instead, she's just a lazy bitch who like, makes machines and stuff, and she can also fly. There's this character, who's, like, another slime, but it's an actual character, and, like, a mummy dog who, I guess, became a main cast member later on, because this dog died. Because I am a dog killer! I killed off the dog so I could introduce an undying dog. Or was it, like, that this dog became this dog? I don't remember. Like, I had a lot of thoughts on this. It was a while ago. Like, it was like 2 years ago that I stopped thinking about this series before it just miraculously popped in my mind. Another Jacko-Man, another frog, another frog, another frog. This was like ultimate key master, like master of key and energy and stuff, but he was also with the Eskimos down south. Another Sharkman. The Sharkmen were actually good guys, did you know? It's weird. I, like, made the Poygins and the Nightcrawlers, you know, the Frogmen and the Catmen, like, basically the bad guys. But, like, I made the Sharkmen the good guys. I don't know, it was weird. But, like, I thought it was a cool subversion of expectations that the scary shark guys were the good guys, and technically, the other races... I sound like I'm being racist right now, like, but I swear, like, you know, the other races weren't, like, good guys or bad guys. There was obviously more complexity in my story, as I would have gotten into, later. It was sort of a misdirect in what I was trying to, you know, lay out with what I was trying to do with my story. Not that I was writing anything Shakespeare level. Another key guy. Another foot soldier. It's a ghost, because, like I said, there are, like, magical creatures in my story. Frog guy. Alien. Oh, that's another interesting thing. I actually had aliens in my original draft of this series, because, you know, I had Alien Crazy Bones. But then I ultimately, like, I was gonna put them into my story originally, but then, like, as a filler, basically, you know, oh, we got this story about this, like, war taking place on Earth between these two factions. Then, oh, I'm gonna introduce these aliens who invade for, like, 4 episodes. Because, like, you know, I was very inspired by anime when thinking of later drafts of this story. And, you know, what do they have a lot of in anime? At least long-running anime. Filler! So, I needed filler, too, obviously. It would have been so great. Another kissy guy. Another foot monster. I don't know. Another monster or something. The Keymaker. This guy, Shark, Slime. I'll get into the actual story, don't you worry, of what actually happened, but I just gotta sort all these first. There was this guy who was actually a main character. He was like the uncle of these two boys, in reality. You know, he was like a strong man, basically. He was a great warrior who didn't have, like, these key abilities, but he was still really crazy strong physically. There's this guy, the Iron Man, you know, I made a Titanium Man in my version, but he's basically just Iron Man in my... I basically just wrote him to be Iron Man, but he doesn't get laid. And this guy, the Sawflower, who is basically, you know, of course, with these plants, like, you know, these plant guys, these guys are, by the way, carnivores, because they view all plant life as sacred, and they have living plants, like, doing their fighting for them, and stuff like that. You know, they ain't no... I was gonna make a joke about, like, how they ain't no soy boys, because they don't eat soy, but, like, they also gain their power from plants, so I guess they are soy boys, or something. Whatever, I have soy boys on the mind because I just watched a video from H-Bomber Guy about how, like, soy doesn't actually make you lose any testosterone. So that's an interesting tangent that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. H-Bomber Guy, you should check him out. He's a pretty underrated YouTuber, in my opinion. Takes forever to put out a video, though. This guy, another foot guy, or a foot monster, or whatever the fuck. This guy, a gopher. I was just gonna make gopher people originally, but then I thought, like, I have way too many, like, different species of people in this show. So I just made him a guard, in the end, like a royal guard, but not really, because it's a democracy, not a monarchy. Another creature, foot creature, or something. Whatever they are, another monster, just a lot of monsters. A slime thing that actually had the ability to go into people's minds and, like, and he was actually a pretty cool character. He went into people's minds, like, brought out their deepest insecurities. He possessed one of the main characters. Bullet Gang member. This guy, I don't know, another baker or whatever. Kissy, again, another Kissy character that ultimately ended up just being one character that I hated in my writing. I wanted the series to be a copy of another character that was just supposed to be one character. Copy of another character that was just supposed to be one character. Very common theme. A penguin, basically. This character was just supposed to be with the Eskimo guys in the south, you know, in the southern climate of coldness. This guy, another alien. This guy was basically a ninja, and his name was Son Goku. If I couldn't make any of my inspirations any more obvious. This guy, another main character, you know, just an icy guy with the power of cold and stuff to make things cold. Like, I think it's supposed to be like the Statue of Liberty, but all I could think of when I saw it is that, like, this red spot, like, I thought he was holding ice cream, but I think it's just based off the Statue of Liberty, and that's the torch, but I thought it was ice cream, and thus he has ice powers, I guess. Foot soldier, creature, I don't know, had a lot of... Some of my things, some of these crazy bones, like, that I thought would be more important initially, that, they just sort of got shafted in my writings when I sort of wanted to make the, series more serious in my head. This guy, another, like, villager, royal guard, but not really, because democracy, frogman, baker, like, I had tons of these bakers, and they're, like, such minor characters in my, ending, you know, idea of what I wanted the series to be. Another main character, actually a very important character, the main character's best friend. You know, basically the main female lead, but you know they don't actually get together. She's with this guy and they get married and it's cute, and the main character actually gets together with the lazy bitch bird lady. So yeah, I mean, but you know she was hot in my head, but and a bit crazy, but you know crazy is hot. And obviously, you know, I said these characters started out as kids, but they grow up. So, and I also was a kid when I was thinking of this series, so it's not weird that I thought of some of these characters as hot. Okay, don't judge me. This guy, another like soldier of the Mad Hatter character. This guy, I don't know, he's a guy, whatever. This guy, another gopher guy who I guess is a royal guard in my head. Baker, where are the other Bakers? I gotta put you with them. Another robotic character. Like, it's a TV, but I just made him a robot with, like, wires to electrocute people. The other alien, these were going to be basically the alien trio, but I cut them out of my story because they were useless. And just filler in the end. It didn't go along with my story of, like, this war. So, this guy, I don't know, he's another foot soldier. This spider guy, who I actually might have cut out my story until much later, but, he had spider powers, I guess. This other guy, a cameraman, who I just made to be one of Alkali's, part of Alkali's robot army. Frog guy again. Shark guy, and pineapple guy, who's actually just a living pineapple and was one of the main characters along with Sawflower. I love Sawflower's design. I think it's one of my favorite designs of all these toys, by the way. So basically, you've got your main cast, which is these. Okay, you got your main cast, which is these. This guy, 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 this guy. This guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Those were the main cast that I had thought up of. You know, Nightcrawler guy, plant guy, other plant guy, Sawflower, pineapple, the grandpa trophy, the little brother trophy, the big brother trophy, who became evil for some reason, but I didn't explain it. The ninja guy, the boxer guy, the Iron Man guy, or shall I say Titanium Man, the ice cream guy, I'm going to say, they have a star on them. She has a star on her, so I'm just going to say, like, the Star Girl, I guess. But she's not actually from the stars, because no aliens in my final draft, which was not really a final draft. It was just, like, a first draft, where I finally started writing things down when I got older. Like, I would think it was 15 where I started writing this stuff down, or maybe 16. There's the lazy bitch bird, there's the mummy, there's the mummy dog. I made this a mummy dog, and the non-mummy dog, I don't know, I think that's it. Then, of course, we have the two main villains, probably, which are Alkali, you know, the robotic, technically cyborg, villain, and then there's, his main general, the robotic character, who is a robot and not a cyborg. So now that we got all the characters out of the way, technically not, I have some more, but I'll get to that. Now, how about we get to actually the plot synopsis of what happened? Because again, I went pretty detailed with this. I created my own world, my own fiction, you know, what would happen. I don't have the writings of when I wrote it down, the plot synopsis, but I'll get to what my basic general outline of the series was going to be and explain it to you. So, basically, I'm going to go through the seasons and arcs of the show. So, Season 1, basically, would be the, focuses on the introduction to the world and the characters. It would be mostly set in the city of the capital city of the Dokkan Republic. You know, it wouldn't be traveling around the world a lot, just mostly be set in that city, where the kids would be training to become warriors. You know, this main cast of kids, who I said before that it was not weird to be attracted by, because when I thought this up, I was also a kid, so, you know, take that. And, you know, they would basically be training to become these warriors. And there's this terrorist plot by the Poijin, you know, the frog people under the command of the Adler Falcon, to destroy a historic landmark, and the kids' characters get wrapped up in it and manage to stop it, but then the main villain, Alkali, takes notice and secretly sends this plant monster to destroy the son of his greatest enemy in battle, and basically, you know, he fights Kabuto, the main character, who, you know, he's a kid and he's very inexperienced, so he gets his ass handed to him. But Kabuto is ultimately rescued by the adult characters, and all the kid characters, of course, get, like, captured too, and their lives are in danger. But it ends with the adult characters, you know, saving the kid characters, showing how much they still have to learn, and all that stuff. Basically setting up the main conflict of the series, and, you know, setting up the characters and the world and the city. That would be the first season, in my head. And in Season 2, things would start heating up, where the characters basically go to visit the Shark People, you know, these ones, and then they, like, who are allied with the Dokkan Republic, as I said before. However, they end up getting cast out to sea in a deadly storm, and the kids get, you know, stranded, finding themselves washed up all the way on the other continent. Yes, they crossed an entire continent on the sea somehow, you know, just, you know, somehow, coincidentally getting washed away. Very, very genius writing there, and where the Adler Falcon has control of the territory, and, you know, the adults basically try to go get them back and they see what the other side is really like, with the civilians there, like I said, sort of seeing the other side of things all the way, in Season 2 of the series, while also being hunted by dangerous minions of Alkali, like, for example, these guys, technically they're both girls, and these foot soldiers with this guy, the real crazy sadist who kicks a soccer ball, and kicks it at their faces because he's mean. And that's basically what happened, and the season would end with the, a battle breaking out between the adults and Alkali's robotic forces, and then all the characters escape home. Basically, it would be the adults to come in and rescue the, kids again, but the kids would also learn sort of how to survive by themselves in enemy territory and sort of learn things and, like, you know, become better, but still not so great. Then Season 3, after getting back home, the characters would realize that, you know, they need to train to become stronger in order to be ready for the Adler Falcon, who will be making their attack soon. So they hone their fighting skills, and a new fighter joins their team to look after them, which is this ninja guy. I didn't mention before how the main characters really start out as just, the main characters really just start out as first, these guys, it's just, it's just these originally, of course, the Star Girl as well. These were the original main cast, but then, Season 3, this guy, the ninja, ends up joining them, so there's that. Ninja ends up joining them as well, yeah, so, basically, so they're training their new, fighting skills, and, you know, this new fighter, the ninja, who's sort of older than them, but also a teenager, joins them to look after them, to keep them safe, so they don't keep getting, like, captured by terrorists and enemies. Meanwhile, Alkali finally begins his assault on the Dokkan Republic, sending a fleet of ships through the river where hundreds of cities lie upon. Like, I showed that in the map. I don't see if you saw it. It was a very densely populated area with a lot of cities upon it. Very polluted because of so many cities, sort of like China. And massive battle ensues with, you know, Alkali not showing up himself, but his robot general, like, showing up to lead for him. And Alkali's forces ultimately end up getting defeated by the great warriors of the city, and, you know, the older characters are really pushed to their limit with trying to fight back. But, you know, ultimately, they're successful, and the enemy, you know, runs away, but a bunch of cities are totally in ruins. So, things are really heating up in Season 3. In Season 4, the season follows the aftermath of the battle, with everyone trying to get back on their feet, and Kabuto's grandpa recovering from his massive injuries that he sustained in the battle. They end up crossing the continent to meet the resistance there, to territorial expansion by the Adler Falcon. Like, the Adler Falcon doesn't have control of the entire northern continent, just like large swaths of it. There are neutral regions and even a few regions allied to the Dokkan Republic. But they're basically trying to gain the support of neutral territory to the cause, particularly the Jacko-Men. Like I said before, these mystical species who have incredibly powerful abilities that could prove useful to the Dokkan Republic. However, they don't really want to join because they're, like, sort of into mysticism and stuff, and, like, not really getting involved in human affairs. And there are also many strange creatures fighting for the Adler Falcon, like, for example, these slime creatures who are that threaten to take over the minds of the characters. Like I said before, this guy had the ability to do that, and he takes over the mind of this one, the Stargirl. The season ends with the Adler Falcon battling against the Jacko Man and ultimately losing to their magic because of how awesome they are, but they still say that they won't participate in the war and will only defend against themselves because the Adler Falcon attacked them. So, Season 5, in this season, the kids who've grown up into teenagers by now are given more responsibility and sent on their own missions together. Even though they're teenagers, they're very powerful and, basically superhuman skills. So they're going on missions by their own, very similar to Naruto, because as I said before, I get a lot of inspiration from this series from Naruto and Dragon Ball, first anime I ever watched. And then there's meanwhile, the adults go to meet with the Vegetau clan, which are, these guys, the people who can communicate with plants and basically have plant powers and make sure that the Dokkan Republic has their support. And so these guys would be introduced as well in this season, and along with their plant companions. And as well as that, the kids meet an ice power guy and a Nightcrawler. These, who are basically wreaking havoc on a city because, they grew up without families and stuff and had to live on their own and basically just abuse their powers for their own good. And basically, the main characters stop them, they get into a fight and stop them and ask them if they would be willing to fight for the Dokkan Republic rather than going to prison. They agree, but then they're all ambushed by new machines sent by Alkali. This would be the Bullet Gang, super powerful robots who, they get their asses beat, but then they're saved by the super powerful teenagers from the Vegetau clan. And now this is our cast. We have a lot of them by now. The only ones that haven't been introduced are the Mummy and the Iron Man. I don't even remember where the Mummy gets introduced. I didn't. So then we get to Season 6, which, quite honestly, in terms of actually writing down what happens, I didn't actually get to this point in the story. I wrote down the basic plot synopsis for what happened for the first about 5 seasons of the show, but I didn't quite get past that, so the details are a little bit more murky in my mind for Season 6 and onwards, because I have a lot of seasons, believe me, in my mind, of where I was planning to take this series. It was very extensive lore. I'm telling you, I put so much time into this damn make-believe world. It's just ridiculous. So, amazing. I'm pretty sure what happened in Season 6 is that there would be a plot point introduced where the peninsula of the Dokkan Republic had been secretly, taken over by the Adler Falcon by replacing the leaders there with shapeshifters. Like this guy, I'm pretty sure he was a shapeshifter. So that basically the characters would have to do something to deal with the fact that, there's a covert operation to take over, Dokkan Republic territory, no one even knew. So the characters would have to do something to deal with that, and all the characters would get, to know each other, and as a newly formed team with the highly, extended cast of characters that would have been introduced last season. And then Season 7 would basically have followed all of the team journeying to the Arctic region in the south, trying to gain the support of the natives there in their fight against the Adler Falcon. Like I said, it was these guys and the Penguin down there who would have made an appearance, and basically it would end with the Adler Falcon invading the Arctic South and trying to end, in other words, kill the people there, and Alkali making a personal appearance for the first time, revealing that he's part robot, basically mostly robot, just a cyborg with his brain and the head, and for the first time the villains actually basically succeed in what they're trying to do and take the South for themselves. And the natives have to flee, which is a really, sad moment in my head, I guess. Then in Season 8, there would be a bit of a time skip with the characters having gotten much more powerful. The Titanium Man would be introduced. This guy, he would be the machines expert. I guess he would get along really well with the bird, the lazy bitch bird, who was into machines as well. I keep calling her lazy bitch bird, but I mean it in a loving way, because in my head, I had her be this really snarky, condescending character who was, really entertaining, I guess. Yeah, so there would, and the cities of the Dokkan Republic would basically be under siege by new strange monsters released by Alkali. For example, I'm trying to find him, this guy, the toxic waste assassin guy, he would be introduced in this season, I guess, and there would be, and a Nightcrawler science experiment. This character, who was actually pretty tragic in my head and what he would be, but I won't get into it. and he was basically a science experiment by the Adler Falcon, and released, and the characters needed to try to fight to stop it. And in Season 9, we would basically get the Naruto-Sasuke plotline, where the main character, Kabuto's brother, has gone down a dark path for a reason that I didn't even remember, honestly. Like, I had just had my idea from the beginning that this character would be evil and, like, betray his brother and betray the good guys, but I don't remember ever giving him a reason to do so, other than he was a jerk and wanted power. But, like, I'm sure if I kept going with the series, I would have come up with a more compelling reason, but like I said, I haven't gotten this far, so I don't exactly know why he would have betrayed them, but he did. And you know, he declares that he's leaving the Dokkan Republic to find his own way, and his brother confronts him about it, and they get into a fight, and they're almost evenly matched, but the older brother is stronger, just like what happens with Naruto and Sasuke. He escapes, and the rest of the season is basically trying to track him down. Sasuke, come back to me, jeez. And in the end, the season ends with him killing his own mother, who is not a character here because I had to make her up because I didn't have her as a character for my original Crazy Bones. But then he kills his mother, and then he basically gets away. And then Season 10, in this season, we would get to see more of the Adler Falcon from an insider's point of view, as, you know, Kabuto, not Kabuto, his brother would basically request to join and offer them information and power, and most of the season would deal with the characters on this side of the war. Basically, you know, it would be a season set in the Adler Falcon, and, you know, trying to give the villains much more focus, you know, sort of setting the villains up for how their stories would be concluded in the end. Yeah. So, like I said, it's a long story. We're already at Season 10, and we're not done yet. Then we get to Season 11, where, you know, the season would mostly deal with build-up, as the Dokkan Republic is gearing up for its assault on the Adler Falcon to end Alkali's reign once and for all, to free the world from tyranny. And before all of this, before all of his machines get too powerful, because, you know, technology keeps increasing and getting more advanced, and so much of it is basically simply set on, you know, gathering forces and seeing where the pieces in the war lie. Of course, I would have obviously filled things up with more details if I had gotten to that point, but like I said, I really only got to Season 5. And, you know, then we get to, Season 12, where, you know, Season 12 would be the all-out war arc, for lack of a better term, with the Adler Falcon making its final push to obliterate the Dokkan Republic, and all the characters getting their chances to shine. It's basically a war from all fronts, so basically it would, you know, use all the characters who I've been setting up for, all these characters here, and of course many more that aren't in Crazy Bone form that I've been setting up all this time, to come to fruition in their character arcs and finally getting a satisfying resolution. As, you know, Alkali's factory, where he resides, is finally sieged, an offensive war from the Dokkan Republic, and Kabuto's grandpa, you know, he fights Alkali to avenge his son's death, but he ends up dying. But then Kabuto gets there, and he fights Alkali, and in the end ends up beating the main villain of the series. Or is he? Because he still needs to defeat his final enemy, his brother, who has, you know, allied with the Alkali, and, you know, the Adler Falcon wants to take it over for himself. And so in their climactic showdown, in the end, it's a tough battle, but Kabuto wins and is able to pull through a win, and he ends up killing his brother. You know, not quite the Naruto and Sasuke storyline. You know, my idea was to have him end up killing his brother. Not quite the Naruto and Sasuke story about how, oh, love and friendship conquers all, but, you know, he would do it, he would win, and the Adler Falcon is finally defeated, and, you know, the war is over, hooray. So that would basically be my general outline of the whole story as it would go. You know, that was my whole story that I had, or at least originally, because, you know, as I had gotten... I'll just turn this up. As I said before, as I had gotten more Crazy Bones, I would sort of, you know, come up with more characters to kind of focus my story on, and, you know, what happens with a lot of several anime series is that there will be, like, you know, there will be a sequel series, like, to focus on the events that happen afterwards. Like, you know, with Dragon Ball, there was Dragon Ball Z, and then Dragon Ball GT and Super. With Naruto, there was Naruto Shippuden, and then Boruto, kind of continuing the series on from what had originally been set up in the original series. So basically, I was going to do the same thing with my series, and I was going to create a Kabuto, because the title of my series was called Kabuto, was the main character, sort of like Naruto, again, wearing my inspiration on my sleeve. It was going to be called Kabuto Gogos, you know, just like Gogos Crazy Bones. So, now, because the video is not over yet, we shall go to the characters and the storylines that would be set up in Kabuto Gogos. Because I ramble, and I like to take a lot of time on things. So, yeah, so let's, basically, you know, Kabuto Gogos, it would be, starting about 5 years after the end of the original, Kabuto series, with them ending the war, and it would focus on everything happening, you know, after that, the aftermath and stuff, and the twist, basically, would be that, the main ultimate villain of this series, he wouldn't be the villain throughout all of it, but it would be, you know, the ultimate villain would be this guy, the robotic general of Alkali's army in the original series. And the reason why he would be the final villain is because, you know, basically he would be, you know, sort of, he would end up betraying Alkali, the main villain, in the penultimate season of the original series, because he thought that basically, like, he was the next step in evolution, and that Alkali was weak because he was only a cyborg and he still had human components, even though he had given himself a robotic body, and he was basically trying to become on top and lead the world into an era of, like, robots and synthetic creatures, but, you know, Alkali didn't want that, and, like, basically cast him off, but he survived and would in the end, become the main antagonist of the end of this Kabuto Gogo series. So let's talk about that series, shall we? So basically, there was, I'm just going to go through some characters. There's this guy who was a robot, you know, another robot for one of the characters who shall be making a return. There's this guy. I honestly don't really remember too much. I think it was like a magical creature that was released. There's this guy, like, he was an alien, I guess, but again, as I said before, I'm cutting out all mentions of aliens from my series. There's this guy. I guess he was an alien too, so none for him. A lot of these Gogos Crazy Bones are just weird. I think I got a lot of these really recently. Well, recently in terms of, like, well, recently to the point where I was already working on my story and, you know, just didn't have time to incorporate all these. This guy, like, I don't know about this guy. He was just like, I don't know. There's this guy who, you know, I guess you would be with this guy who's kind of like a magical creature. This guy would be a phantom robot. I'll get into that. There's, I don't remember. I don't remember this guy. I don't think I had any plans for him. This would be another robotic creature, well, not a robotic creature, just a robot, but like a steam-powered hydraulic press, you know, kind of really powerful robot, for sure. This would be like a mermaid character, because there's mermaids, because there's all kind of fantastical stuff, and oh my gosh, this character looks so dumb. I had no plans for him. This character, this would be like a really important and iconic character of mine, where he would basically be, you know, I was talking before about how there was this wise cat, this Nightcrawler character, and he would be essentially the sun god Ra. He would be revealed to be actually a god in, like, mortal form, so that would be a very important character. This is just an Eskimo guy who, you know, is a copy of a character that I've had before. This would be a main character, new character introduced. There would be this guy, who would basically be one of the villains that's introduced in the series, but not having any connection to the main villain. He would be, you know, basically a snake creature, because I'm just all into introducing these anthropomorphic animal creatures, who would be the main villain, and he would be like a wizard, and he would have a bunch of other snake creatures following him. There would be this guy. I don't even remember who this guy is. I think it would be like, okay, so I'm gonna get into who it would be. There would be this magical creature as well. This is just blue design of that plant guy that I said before, that I got later. This guy, I don't know, I guess would be an alien, and I'm not talking about aliens. This would be magical creature. This would be, I have no idea. Some of these are just really dumb designs, honestly. There would be this guy, who would be a new character introduced. He would basically be a protege of the main character from the previous one. you know, the main character Kabuto. Should have kept the main characters from the previous series in here, because, you know, there would be this guy. He would be, originally I actually did have this guy as a alien, but I just changed him into a monk later on, because, you know, as I said before, I'm not introducing any aliens into this. No aliens. There would be, let's see, I don't know who this guy would be. This guy would be a karate teacher, I guess, you know, as you can see. This girl, very important character, very strong character, she would basically be the strongest character, physically strongest character of them all, and would be trained by the Sun God as his, you know, most important protege. This guy would also be trained by the Sun God as a protege. And it would also be this character, who would be another plant creature, who would be becoming main character status. This is just a redesign of previous character archetype. This character was interesting, but I'll actually get into him later. This character would basically be one of the final forms of this guy. Actually, I made it to where this is like one of the final forms of this guy, but not quite the final form, because, you know, it's anime, and you gotta have different forms in anime. Basically, this guy, I have no idea. Like, I think he was maybe an alien or something. I guess he would be a creature. I have no idea who this girl was. Like, I have no idea. There was, this girl, this kitty cat, who was supposed to be a super smoking hot cat girl, who was, like, the assistant of this guy. And, this fish character, who, it's a fish, I have no idea, but, whatever. I guess there would be fish creatures in the show, too. Like, maybe, I don't know. I already did shark creatures. Maybe there would be, like, a sort of branch of that species. This guy, I have no idea. This guy, I have no idea. Again, I have no idea, this girl. I don't know, I guess amongst these creatures, because there would be, I'll get into what I was talking about later, because there would be, like, there would be a certain 3-season arc in this sequel series that would basically focus on magic a lot, you know, whereas it was sort of a background thing in the original series that was mostly focused on war, but this series would do more with magic and stuff like that. Basically, the main villain would be the snake guy, who's a sorcerer who could bring people back from the dead and stuff like that. And no, hold on. Oh, shoot, do I have 2 of these? Oh, shoot. There's one without the symbol and one with the symbol. They were just supposed to be one character, but, guess I have 2 copies. I didn't even realize that. This racer guy who, I don't know, I think he was supposed to be like an alien racer originally, but, you know, no aliens. I have no idea who this guy is. A diver who, you know, going down under the sea to see that, the fish guy, so, there's this girl. This guy, I don't know. This character, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who you are. Stop being people. I don't know. I don't know these people. I don't know these people. I don't know these characters. This guy, who would be another... Oh, yeah. No, wait, this guy... No! Oh, I was wrong. This guy would be one of the proteges of the main protagonist of previous series. This guy would be one of the proteges of... the Sun God, just like, this girl. By the way, her name's Hera. I actually got a name for her because I like the name Hera. Another creature. This guy's a monk. These would basically be, twin brothers, both proteges of the main character. And, I don't know who you are. And these would also be twins. These two, you know, they have the same design, obviously. They would be twins. And, you know, there'd be the students, proteges of the Sun God guy. That guy... That guy, this guy, I guess would be like, this guy would be a coach, trainer, assisting the main character from the previous show. All of these aren't main characters. I don't know why they're there. This mermaid girl, don't know why she's there. Don't know who you are. You're a bird. Maybe you'd get along with the bird bitch. I don't know why. This guy, a creature, just, Oh, another copy. I have 2 copies for some reason. Why do I have so many copies of these characters who are supposed to be one singular character? Another copy of this character who's supposed to be one singular character. This small guy who would... I'm going to be getting into his significance, for sure. Where are the other guys? Yeah, hold on. Shoot. I am getting confused, I think. Okay, so... I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. You are not interesting to me. There's, You are not interesting to me either. Yeah, this guy would be one of the main villains of the first and second season. I don't know if you can see him, just, I don't know who you are. I don't know you. Yeah, okay, this guy would be another monk. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. This guy would be like a guy from the Phantom Zone, another magical creature that we didn't quite see from the Jankoman last time. The Phantom Zone! To the Phantom Zone! This guy, deep sea diver. He has his cute little fishy suit. Another main character, another plant guy, basically twin of this guy. A lot of twins and brothers in this series. Not so many sisters. I don't know who you are. 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 Monk guy, who is originally supposed to be an alien, but is a monk. Don't know who you are. You are a copy of a character that I already have. Copy. Copy. Genie, which I'll get into the significance of. Okay, let's see. This guy. Yeah, this guy, another robot. I will get into the significance of the robots, don't you worry, because I'll... Gearing up for a reveal. It's just a non-emerald copy of this bird. Okay. Don't know who you are. The brain character. This would be basically the mad scientist who would be responsible for giving this guy, the main villain, the robot guy, a bunch of upgrades. But of course he would ultimately betray him because he's a human, and at least supposed to be a human, and you know, he's not like humans and wants everyone to be synthetic, perfect beings. I am Cell. I am Cell, the great and powerful. Yeah, this guy, another robot. I don't know who this is. I don't know who this is. I don't know who you are. I don't know you. This ninja guy, basically second in command of this guy, the Snake Sorcerer, who would hire as an assassin and stuff. Okay, so here we finally get to one of the major twists of this sequel series, which is that this guy is actually Alkali's brother. He had a little brother who also became a cyborg and stuff and gave himself a robotic body. And he basically used the power of a genie, an ancient magical genie, to bring you know, to bring Alkali back to life. So he comes back and makes an army of himself and also other things too. And basically, you know, he comes back with an army of himself. So that's sort of a twist that not only the main villain from the previous series, you know, not only his general came back, but he did as well. So I'm just going to be getting into the series. This video is going on very long, so I'm just going to be trying to getting to what the actual plot was. So Season 1, basically, the season starts out several years after the end of the war, and now peace has been obtained. To celebrate this peace, a tournament is held every year in the capital city of the Dokkan Republic, where previous territories of the Adler Falcon regime are also welcome to attend. Because if it's anime, you gotta have your tournament arc! Basically, new and old arrivals are greeted and compete against the protagonists, and a wise Nightcrawler sage, this guy, ends up attending and is seemingly unbeatable. You know, this is where he's introduced, basically, along with all his students, this guy, these guys, and Hera, of course, is one of my favorite characters. She's just very entertaining. And so that's basically where a lot of characters are introduced, and I really liked writing this season, even though... you know, it wasn't quite as story-focused, it was just very character-focused, and that's why I really liked it, and I also just really like tournament arcs from anime, so I actually ended up, you know, skipping all of the seasons that would have ended the original series, and just ended up writing this season, Season 1 of Go-Gos, and the next season as well, so I had a lot of fun writing it. It would end with basically Kabuto's battle against the Wise Cat Sage, as Kabuto would be the only one close to matching his level, but in the end he would reveal that he was actually a god, and, you know, and they would have their fight, and ultimately, like, Kabuto would lose, because, you know, He's only Kabuto, he's only immortal, and it would show that, like, there are much more people out there who are even more powerful than him. Then you would get to Season 2, where the season would deal with some of the repercussions of the end of the war, like, you know, with the protagonist trying to ally with the Nightcrawler Sage's pupils, you know, as they would get mixed into the main cast after that. And, you know, they would try to visit these previous Adler Falcon clans and territories to try to make peace with them, you know, showing what happened after the war and how you kind of dealt with all the conflicts that were because of it. And they were ambushed by one of the clans, these guys, who basically they were they were a prideful clan of the Adler Falcon regime and had a lot of power in it, but then they were, you know, obviously torn down after the war ended. And, you know, they try to enact their revenge on the characters, but they ultimately end up losing because the main characters are OP, and they get beaten. However, the main character, Kabuto, who gets separated from the group, actually ends up getting beaten pretty badly, but he's in the end saved by the Deus Ex Machina, the Sun God, who's a super powerful character now. In Season 3, like I said before, I didn't get past Season 2 of my writing for the sequel series, but this is where I had the general outline of the story going. Season 3, a new evil would be unleashed with the race of serpent creatures, trying to collect some MacGuffins, because it's always MacGuffins, you know, that will ultimately lead to the release of an all-powerful dragon that will help them take over the world, but it wouldn't grant them wishes, it would just be super powerful and stuff. We'll get into wish granting later. The protagonist must work to stop them as they fight against their dangerous creatures and magic. Like, a bunch of these creatures I listed here are, you know, connected to these serpent creatures who are basically able to do magic and bring people back from the dead. It was a pretty cool scenario, I guess, even though it's more fillery and less connected to the overall story of what's going on. In Season 4, the season has the protagonist adventuring more around the world, learning new skills, and trying to stop the serpent people before they achieve their plans, and they would meet all kinds of new locations that we haven't quite seen before in the series. Like, for example, you would meet the mermaid character and, like, go underwater and meet these fish and stuff, trying to collect the MacGuffins, and, you know, which haven't quite been all found yet, and, like, they would meet these, so they would meet these groups of, mysterious monks who teach them a special way of harnessing the life energy. Basically, the key makers from the original, which I don't think I quite mentioned in depth, but basically just the key makers, but more OP, and teaching him new ways of harnessing key energy. Season 5, as the serpent people hire a deadly ninja assassin, this guy, to stop the protagonist from chasing them down. They get closer and closer to reaching their goal. In the end, they succeed and are able to free the dragon, but it's stopped by Kabuto and the Sun God, you know, this guy, who are able to free it from the chains the serpent people placed on it. You know, the reveal would be that the dragon was actually good the whole time, and the serpents were, like, casting their magic to try to control it and make it evil for their own will. And even though they couldn't destroy the dragon gods, they were able to free it from, you know, their grip. So there's that. Season 6, in this season, the robotic general of Alkali would finally make a reappearance after he was presumed that it was destroyed after Alkali, you know, tried to destroy it for its betrayal. Now it seeks world domination of its own and seeks out the Jacko Men, remember those guys, to basically enter into the Phantom Zone, where these guys would be, where the fires there are hot enough to create the substance needed for an incredible new weapon. In this season, a lot of lore about the way the world functions is revealed, and the journey through the Phantom Zone is a treacherous one for both the protagonists and the villains. You know, it would basically be like a story of survival for both of them, as they would try to survive this incredibly dangerous zone, even as powerful as they are. And it ends with the villains achieving its goal in the end and escaping with the new super medal. In Season 7, in this season, the robotic former general creates its new weapon, and it appears nearly impossible to beat, even by the Sun God himself. I guess it would be this, but except for some reason, my initial draft of how this story would go would have the new weapon be like a woman, a really hot woman who was made of metal. It was so weird. But anyway, they would try to defeat this new weapon, and it would seem impossible to beat, even by the Sun God himself. But the protagonist must train to find some way to defeat it while being in danger of losing their lives, because, you know, it would basically be trying to track them all over the world and kill them. And basically, in the end, they would be able to defeat it not by destroying it, because it's pretty much indestructible, but by flinging it to the sun with their ki blasts. Beam struggle. Beam struggle, because it's Dragon Ball and Naruto for days in this series. So, in Season 8, in this season, it's revealed that Alkali actually had a younger brother, as I was talking about before, who had also converted himself into a cyborg and is intent on bringing back his older brother from the dead. The protagonist tries to stop him, but he is able to revive a magical wish-granting genie and feeds it energy to grant his wishes. Alkali is revived and creates an enormous robotic army once again to stop the protagonists, which actually means that I was able to integrate, because, like, Alkali, I had him originally as, like, the main villain of the series, and he was just supposed to be one character, but then I got this Crazy Bone, who's basically the same design, but yellow. I got him later, but this time I was actually able to integrate another copy of one that I just had a singular character as, you know, just being a robotic copy of, you know, that character. So it's cool that I was able to make that work, and basically... Now, you know, Alkali has arrived and creates an enormous robotic army, once again, to stop him protagonist, many copies of himself, so you're basically facing a bunch of Alkalis, but once again, one of his artificial intelligences ends up turning against him, and basically turning tail, and actually working with the heroes to defeat him, you know, showing how, you know, he just couldn't keep control of his artificial intelligences. And then this, an Alkali, would actually end up joining the main cast. Ooh, such a twist. In this season, again, much like, you know, the main character's brother turning evil, I didn't really have a reason. I just wrote it as such and had it that way. I don't know. He just turned good, I guess. I don't know. In Season 9, Alkali tries to regain control of his former allies from the Adler Falcon, but it's largely unsuccessful. The lamp that the genie kept in is shattered and Alkali is defeated. You know, this character dies brutally by having his lamp shattered. And, you know, Alkali is defeated, and the season would end with Alkali actually being killed by his former general, the robot guy, where he's officially cements himself as the final villain of this series. In Season 10, in this season, things get dire as the Sun God begins to lose his power for a series of multiple circumstances that we're not getting into here. Alkali's old robotic general begins to gain much more power. It's revealed that he covertly took over the Jackalman's lair and went back to the Phantom Zone to create much more of the super material for the creation of multiple new weapons that are being unleashed upon the world, causing horrible suffering, including this guy, which basically they captured phantoms from the Phantom Zone and fused them with machinery to create, like, this super powerful OP robots and stuff. And as well as more of the new weapons that they tried to defeat before, and the protagonist must fight against the threat as the robot gains more and more intelligence and power, and it seems like, you know, everything is just, like, completely lost as they just have almost no way to defeat the incredible power machines that he's created. Then in Season 11, the season kicks off with a full-on war against the robot, as it hacks into nearly every electronic device in the entire world to feed itself information, and uses every mechanical and biological advancement possible to make itself into the perfect synthetic being. Basically, it's just perfect cell. In the end, it succeeds and kills one of the main characters. That would be the Stargirl from, who I said was a really important character, really main female heroine, and she would die, and it would be like a surprise because, oh my gosh, the main character died. And that would basically set up, oh, this machine is like such an entirely big threat. And, you know, in the end, you know, it almost ends up killing Kabuto, and it leaves the world under the rule of an unstoppable super being. So basically the ending would be, like, super tragic, where all the characters would lose, and it's basically like the war arc of Naruto with a bunch of, you know, the main villain bringing a bunch of characters back from the dead, like with science, not a reanimation jutsu, but like science, trying to bring a bunch of really strong characters back from the dead, and even actually cloning characters who are still alive. Like, for example, it would try to clone the main character as well, try to have him fight against him, so that would be interesting. And in Season 12 would be the ending of the whole series, and in this final season of the show, there would be one final push to defeat the robot, with only Kabuto being strong enough to stand a chance alone, as the Sun God has pretty much lost his power and can't do much anymore. But he's not alone, as the entire world bands together to lend him their life energy to turn him into a new god, as the Sun God is now gone, and he's able to defeat the robot at last, bringing peace. So basically, the ending of the series would be a ripoff of the Spirit Bomb from the ending of the Dragon Ball Z series, where, you know, Goku gets all the life energy from everyone on Earth. So basically, that would be how the series would end, and, you know, the main character saving the day and everything. So So yeah, that's basically everything. 24 entire seasons of a show that I had planned out in my head with like a ton of episodes, like hundreds of episodes. It was pretty insane, man. It was pretty insane. Jeez. I can't believe I spent so much time on that. Yeah. So basically, that was my basic idea for how I thought the show would go in my head. I had some other ideas for what I want to do with the story and world that ultimately never ended up coming to fruition. Like, I was thinking of doing a prequel season that goes over the history of the Nightcrawlers, you know, the cat people and how they came to be, and, you know, their whole conflict with humans and how it escalated, and talking about, like, prejudice and all that stuff, because that was, again, like I said before, one of the main focuses I was going to have in my series. I was going to have, like, a sequel season of how Kabuto would deal with his new status as a god and how that would affect him, because that was something I thought that would have a lot of potential. And I teased this character, like the Emerald Bird thingy that I was talking about, that I didn't have. He was going to be a character in the future, definitely, that he was going to sort of play a part in this new season, as Kabuto would try to sort of handle his role in godhood, as he would be a god himself, and would basically be trying to, you know, get him to handle his role as that, and he would be pretty important. But I ultimately never really planned to do that in the first place, even though it was sort of an idea, as I just didn't think it would really fit in with, like, you know, the character. I don't know, it just couldn't think of too many ideas. I was even planning on bringing the series into space, as I said before, and exploring all of the universe with, like, bunch of new characters being introduced. I said before, like, I had a bunch of ideas for aliens that came from my crazy bones, because a lot of them look like, you know, aliens, but I never really got into that because of the fact that it's just, you know, like, introducing aliens into this sort of more grounded world, like, just felt like it didn't really fit. But yeah, anyway, I really like looking back on this series, because, you know, it just is very impressive to me that, like, I was able to create something so extensive out of, like, basically this toy line. And, you know, I have a lot of fond memories of it, but, like, looking back on it, I had a lot of ideas for this series, but they didn't quite fit together. I had, like, all these ideas about, like, oh, it's this story about war, it's this story about prejudice, and, like, magic, and there's all these different species, and, you know, all these different weird things. But, like, again, a lot of things just didn't quite gel together very well. It's just a lot of random shit thrown in together in this world that, like, wasn't entirely coherent. I mean, like I said before, like, you know, these are based off of toys, and basically, you know, I had the ideas for my characters from, you know, toys, so, you know, obviously that wasn't these very varied and unique designs of toys, that obviously wasn't going to create the most consistency when it came to designing my world. So there was that issue, but, you know, like I said, a lot of my aspects of my world just didn't really fit together that well, and, like, one of my aspects, which is the alien aspect, which was supposed to be a big part of my world, was, you know, I just ended up having to cut out of the story altogether in the end, because, you know, I couldn't find any way to really fit it with the main plot of what was actually going on. Another main problem I had with my series is that I relied on the rule of cool a lot, where, you know, basically, if I thought something was cool, I would just, like, okay, I'm gonna run with this, because it's pretty cool, like, you know, robots, and, like, these magical powers and all this shit, and, like, you know, Ki, and, a bunch of powers that I came up with, like, manipulating your blood to, like, manipulate other people's blood from the inside, and, like, it, you know, all these powers I came up with, like, I had in my head, like, okay, this is really cool, I want to do this because it's really cool, and, like, you know, that shouldn't be, like, your main, when writing a story, your main, like, idea should be, like, okay, how do I want to create a consistent story with, like, characters, and how do I develop these characters? And I don't really think, I put too much focus on, I think, the world, because, you know, obviously I put a lot of detail into creating a fictional world, because I really like creating fictional worlds, and I always did, even when, like, I was younger, I would create, like, these fictional, worlds, except they were worlds in outer space that I would create, and I would add a bunch of details to them, because I'm very detail-oriented when it comes to, like, designing fictional worlds. I'm very, in that way, I'm really get stuck up on the details in that. And I, like, put a lot of focus on the story and the powers and the world, but not quite enough focus on the characters. I don't really think that many of my characters were very well developed. Like, for example, the main character, he was just kind of very bland, boring, standard shonen protagonist. Like, he was basically a Naruto character. He was made fun of for, like, not living up to, you know, not living up to what he should have been, and, you know, sort of a goofball, but, like, also but, you know, also, like, not nearly as interesting as Naruto, because he didn't have to deal with stuff like dealing with a magical fox demon inside him, which he had to struggle with, and, like, you know, just, and, like I said, the main character's brother, like, nowhere near as interesting as Sasuke. Even if you don't like Sasuke, he had a compelling character arc and reasons for why he was doing what he did, but, like I said before, the reason why the main character's brother betrayed them was because he was just an asshole. It was, like, not compelling in the slightest. But yeah, I just, basically, I didn't do too much focus on the characters, and I think I really did them a disservice in thinking of my characters, because, you know, I had these ideas for, oh, these characters would be cool, and they would have cool powers, and, like, they would fight and stuff, and it would be cool, but, like, you know, it was definitely not, like, professional writing in any way, in what I was thinking up, like, you know, just, I had some dumb moments in my series, too, like, for example, that really big contrivance where these characters got caught up in the storm, and somehow, miraculously, got floated all the way to the other continent so that they could, be in enemy territory, just miraculously, so that was a big plot contrivance, but yeah, a lot of things like that. It wasn't the best, but, you know, I tried. I was trying to create something good, and, you know, it was when I was literally a kid. I was literally a kid. When I was drafting this stuff, I was 15, 16. You know, I think I did pretty good for myself for just, you know, a kid and what I was trying to accomplish. Some things that I wrote when I was younger might have been, I definitely think I wouldn't have written now. Like, for example, it was so weird. I made, like, a few pedophile jokes in my story, like, that was just really weird. And, like, there was also a gay character that I had in my story, but it was just, like, he wasn't actually LGBTQ representation, but he was just, like, the butt of a joke. I mean, if I was writing nowadays where I'm much more progressive, like, I would probably have written him just to be an actual gay character and, you know, not just as a joke, because, you know, whatever. But, and there were also just some really weird moments, like, I wrote a scene where a character was trying to, rip out another character's heart, but they only succeeded in removing their tonsils, like, just weird moments, like, that I thought would be, oh, this would actually be cool or totally normal, but, like, it's just really weird, looking back on it now. But yeah, overall, I have a lot of attachment to the story, because, you know, in the end, it's my story. I made it, out of looking at cool toys that I had, and, you know, created an entire lore and history and world that, you know, was incredibly detailed, and, like, and again, like I said before, I didn't, like, I definitely took a lot of inspiration from stuff like Naruto and Dragon Ball, but in the end, like, this still was my story that I created, and, like, I created it, you know, I created the outline of my story and what I wanted, long before I'd ever watched Naruto or Dragon Ball. It was just in my head from looking at these crazy moments. Of course, after I had watched those animes, I made it much more anime-like, in how I wrote the story, you know, introducing, like, characters and energy blasts, like beam struggles and stuff like that is basically what I wanted to do. But yeah, you know, even looking back on it, the story and characters, like, you know, a lot of the story and characters, they reek of, like, infantile writing, like and the stuff the other thing is, like, the stuff I was imagining in my head, like, it would have been so expensive to animate in a long-running show. Like, you know, I focused, like, so much on action scenes in the show, like, with not that many breaks of, like, talking, as you would have in, like, long-running animes like Naruto and Dragon Ball, because I just wanted action, 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 really cool moments, big explosions, stuff like that, and punching, and, you know, it would have been so expensive to animate, like, what I had going on my head. In the end, to conclude this video, I am still, you know, proud of what I created in my mind. I think it is, you know, a representation of my creativity and just what I had in my youth that I haven't quite gotten back. I've become more structured in, you know, my thought process and what I, like, try to do. And, you know, that's not a bad thing. I mean, I don't know if it was exactly the smartest decision to spend so much time in my childhood mulling over this fantasy series in my head that obviously will never come to fruition and will never be made into an actual series. But, you know, it was still fun, and I'm proud of what I created. And this has been the story of the anime I made up when I was a kid. So, yeah, that has been it. That has been my extremely overlong video that's probably not even going to be able to be uploaded to YouTube because it takes so much storage space. But whatever, this has been the Aromantic Shipper in my glorious swivel chair. Swivel chairs are the best chairs. Anyway, yeah, this has been the Aromantic Shipper. Always remember, just because you can't feel love doesn't mean you shouldn't want other people to. Bye.